Thank you. No more. No more. I woke up this morning planning to talk on the power of now. Power of now. When I went to sleep last night, I put her to sleep and I fell asleep in my arms. And the absolute beauty of that moment, the power of now. And I woke up this morning and across my phone and across the internet and across everything, the world seems to have blown up. Right? For those of you who don't know what happened, a gunman went into a gay club in Orlando last night with a semi-automatic rifle and a handgun and slaughtered 50 people. And wounded 50 others and then took 30 hostage before the SWAT team came in and killed him. And no more do we continue this. No more do we participate in the hatred and the lies and the curses. No more. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm in a 12-step recovery program. And one of the things we're taught in 12-step is to look at our side of the street. To stop accusing, blaming, and assigning guilt to others. Because we've got more than enough of our own. And I wonder, where are we inciting violence, hostility, rage, and anger? If it exists on the outside, we know spiritually and emotionally that there's a place that it exists within us too. And if we're going to really live by that song and say no more, it stops here. I also watched across all kinds of media this morning as some people have been tweeting horrible things about people in a gay club got what they deserved.
Oh, yeah.
And I have been watching the amazing outpouring of compassion and wisdom and understanding. And, you know, there are churches here on this Sunday morning, I'm sure I'm not the only minister who threw out their talk to be able to bring this forward. But the difference for me in why I'm here in a Unity church and a New Thought church is that we are willing to look at our side of the street. We are willing to know that what we bring forward into the world is love. And that is the most powerful thing we can do, is to love the shooter, the people who were shot, the people who say ridiculous and outrageous things in the name of God. To actually love them, to not make mental, emotional, and spiritual violence against them as well. So, there are no easy answers. There are no easy answers, and be very, very scared of anybody who tells you there are. Very scared. But there is always, always hope. even in the midst of this pain, this tragedy, and this horror, there is God. And I firmly and wholeheartedly know that. Running away won't do it. That song was planned for the talk anyway. Talk about divine order. Right? That song was planned, not knowing what this day would bring. There's always a solution. So, this feels horrible, awkward, and every word I speak feels insufficient. So I told Peggy when she and I got in this morning that I was changing this and we were going to do some time together. She has the microphone, we'll get the microphone.
She got it.
And I'm opening this up to discussion. Okay, so we'll bring you the mic, okay? And Errol,
Yes.
could you bring me the other stool? The tall stool?
Where is it? Is it in the
It's
back?
somewhere in the back there, I think. I don't feel like...
Okay, is this one?
Errol, it's right here, behind me.
No, I've got one here.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Francine, and I want to pray for the leaders of the National Rifle Association, that they change their consciousness and their hearts and become leaders in the anti-violence and anti-violence. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to use this as a affirmative prayer teaching moment. In unity, we pray for the wisdom already within them, already right there within them, right? So, and in a unity prayer training, what we train to do is to know that the wisdom inside them will come forth when we allow it, rather than impose it. Right? So to say we're... I know. So rather than changing their mind to our way, we hold open the space of possibility that there's an even greater truth yet to be unveiled that we don't know and they don't know. Not that we're superior to them, but that we are actually all holding something greater together. So let's say that prayer together, okay? So we take this moment in this pain that we feel, in this confusion, to know that God is present. Present in all people. Into this circle of our compassion and understanding, we bring members of the NRA and their leaders and all politicians on all sides of the spectrum, so that we may all drop our defenses, our assured superiority, and listen to each other. Listen to the pain that is inflicted. Listen to the pain that is shared. And listen to the wisdom of the divine bubbling up in each and every one of us, so that we may live in a world that honors all life, that celebrates peace above all, and that knows the real meaning of the words, love your neighbor. So we bring our love, our devotion, our compassion to the members and the leaders of the National Rifle Association. We bring our love, our compassion, and our hearts to the leaders of all political parties, so that we may come together to solve this problem. That we may come together and know a new earth, to know a new way of being, and to celebrate it right here, right now. heaven on earth is available to us. For this awakening consciousness, we are truly grateful. For the possibility, however small it may be, possibility of peace and understanding, we say thank you. And we say yes, yes, and yes. So it is.
I want to see what we do with this prayer. This morning is reminding me of 911 and Thich Nhat Hanh.
I was just reading Thich Nhat Hanh this morning.
Yeah. And he was due to be interviewed that morning. So they called him thinking that he would not want to be interviewed. And he said, well, of course I would be interviewed. He said, there's a lot of grief that has to happen. And it's important to let that grief out. And he said, I want to remind people that it's not the real. That the real is what's the peace that's deep inside of us.
Say again, please.
He reminded people that all of this is not the real. The real is what peace resides inside of us.
Thanks.
Sure, actually, one of the things I saw this morning was a Thich Nhat Hanh quote as well. It's one of my favorites. Because of the horrors he has witnessed in his life, right? And what he endured in Cambodia and came out on the other side filled with love, peace, and compassion. And we've often talked here about how we only see things through our lens, right? It's true, we can only see through the lens of our lives, our perspective. And I also was really struck this morning. I was like, wow, it's horrific, 50 people slaughtered in the middle of the party. And there are parts in this world, and especially in the Arab world, where that is a normal occurrence, where hundreds of people are slaughtered by us, by others, by themselves. And violence is a huge, horrific violence is a huge part of their natural day. I can't fathom it. We're sitting here in shock. I'll speak for myself. I'm sitting here in shock this morning because of the violence that occurred in our country today. But it's still a rarity here as compared to other places. And then I'm overwhelmed with the grief of that, the overwhelming sadness of that. And what I loved about, I was also been reading a lot of Eckhart Tolle today. He talked this week, but he talked very much about that you don't ignore the grief. You don't pretend you're not sad. It's not pretending that this didn't happen and it doesn't affect you. But what you hold is the serenity of knowing that there's a larger truth and that there is a divine good unfolding in the midst of this horror and pain. And so that you can have a serenity in the midst of anguish. That you can come fully present to grieve with your family and friends, your other human beings. And know true serenity. True joy. So that is how I pray for it. Oh, Spirit, I come to this moment shattered, grieving, and heartbroken. Enable to me to know that is in every moment of joy, bliss, or sadness, you are there in the midst. You are there, comforting, supporting, facilitating, and creating the possibilities that lie in the situation. Enable me to let go where I need to let go, and to love where I need to love. Enable me to be the channel of peace, compassion, and wisdom this day and every day forward. Enable love to reign supreme. Love conquers hate. Love erases pain. And love transforms all. And so it is. Mr. Nelson.
I almost didn't stand up because you covered what I wanted to say, but I want to go back to what Errol said earlier, which was we have to know ourselves before we can, first and foremost. And at times like these, I personally feel confused. And I also feel separation. And when we have these wonderful church services, which I like to come to and see all of you, I leave here feeling really great. And so it's kind of like, when the road is smooth, it's easy to dance down the road. You know? When stuff like this comes up, it's how quickly I fall from my perception of everything being one. So I just want to share with you today, and if you think it's appropriate, Reverend Ken, to just ask people to shout out into the circle what they're feeling. And I'll start by saying I'm feeling confusion and feelings of separation, us versus them.
Anyone else want to share?
I'm disgusted by it.
Disgusted.
Yeah, just
Yes.
angry, disgusted.
Angry and disgusted. Other words.
Rage.
Rage. Shock.
Sad.
Sad.
I thought we were done with this. I am extremely upset being part of this community. It's been shot at. I thought we were done.
If we're going to address the National Rifle Association, it seems to me we need to address the Muslim community and our brothers and sisters in that religion.
Great, let's do that. So, Muslims are a loving and wonderful religion. I have studied it, I've read it, I know it. It is amazing. And the teachings of Muhammad are transcendent and beautiful. They have been appropriated and listed in a very, very twisted way, in my opinion, by a small group of radicals. Just as the Bible has been taken, the Hebrew scriptures and the Christian scriptures taken and used, cherry-picked to also demonize gay people here in the United States through the eyes of Christianity, and to demonize others as wrong and bad. Hatred and violence have no part in any true spiritual practice. None. Absolutely none. And all the Muslim leaders I know and all the Muslims I know would say the exact same thing. So, yes. It's pain, violence, one second, pain, violence, and hatred are not, violence and hatred, pain happens. Violence and hatred have no part in any spiritual discourse. And calling fundamentalists, evangelicals, mainstream Christians is wrong. Calling them bad is wrong. Calling Muslims bad is wrong. Calling Hindus bad is just as wrong. Unity is here to say that we are all God's perfect children. The teachings of the true spiritual leaders would never call for anyone else to be physically harmed. And those are the teachings that I hold up. So let's pray for our Muslim brothers and sisters. Holy Father, Holy Mother, sweet Spirit, by whichever name you call the divine, we open our hearts to you this moment. We know that your path, your spiritual path, is that of peace, of love and understanding. We know that all spiritual paths lead to God. And we ask that the whole world lift up the truth. If God is one, we are all brothers. As God is one, we are all sisters. As God is neither male nor female, we are all one. Spirit and practicality and in truth. When we let go of us and them, right, wrong, evil, good, the duality, we get to live in the now. And the now is that we are all seeking wisdom, love, and understanding. In this moment, in this now moment, we can choose to love and watch how that love transforms our own heart to God. Dear God, soften my heart. Dear God, open me to the possibility of loving my enemy. Dear God, open me to beyond what I think I can hold. Dear God, transform this bitter and broken world into one of love and compassion. Through me. Amen.
I have two aspirations in this regard. One is to be Amish for the rest of the day, so that I can forgive the way the Amish have forgiven when their loved ones have been slaughtered. The other, I know you will find not a particularly loving response, but I've thought about this for years. If I'm in this church or any other public gathering and some person walks through the door spraying bullets around, my choice is I'm not going to sit there and watch it kill you while I hide. If that happens, get out of my way, because I'm going for it. He's going to kill me, I'm going to kill him. And I will do it in the most loving way I know how. But I will not let a bunch of people die while I stay alive. I'm 62 years old, I can go now. And if I save a life, fine.
I'm with you, darling.
I hope it doesn't happen.
Well, yes, and sometimes the loving response is no.
Yeah, we
No.
don't be passive.
Doesn't mean accepting what is doesn't mean that you're a doormat for what is, right? This happened. These people, this person in Orlando carried out this act of violence. Doesn't mean that we condone it. Be really clear. No, you can go no further. I won't accept that is a loving response. The subtlety of it is not to do it with hatred, and I didn't hear hatred in your voice, right? I didn't hear that. So the subtlety of it for our own spiritual good, for our own soul's redemption, is to do it, to say it, to hold the firm line. It's like, no, we don't shoot each other. Period. We love each other. Right? Now, that's hard in the world. Because obviously, my words didn't stop what happened today. Our collective thought and prayer didn't stop that from happening. There's a lot of grieving to be done. Yes, Wanda?
There's a tendency in our current society to look at the weapon as opposed to the cultural situation where people go after the NRA and condemn gun carrying. But this man grew up in what I would consider a tribal society, where
What do
it's,
you mean by that?
I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
It's when the tribal members look on themselves as the only right people and everyone else is they. And they are the enemy. And the tribal values include honor killing, include a lot of carryover from the era of the Crusades, where I'm a follower of Muhammad and you are a crusader and therefore you hate me. And I'm going to protect myself and everyone else. And when you look at this event in that light, one of the things we need to ask ourselves is how much we do to break down the tribal wall. Do we invite people to dinner? Do we go to their places and sing? Do we educate them the same way we educate our own kids? We have a wonderful city here where there are 180 countries represented. So we have a custom of eating in each other's restaurants and revering each other's music, but that is not true in many communities in our country. We had a guest from Arkansas come to our office and asked to smoke a cigarette outside, and we said, why? He says, we don't have people like that in our state. And he meant all the colorful characters that live here in San Francisco that we take for granted. And the tribalism is only barely signified by religious differences. It's really culture, and it's very deep. It's several thousand years old, but it doesn't have to stay like that. And we over-ghettoize people. We keep them out of our housing, we keep them out of our places of employment, and the resentment and the separation only increase. So in addition to prayer, we need some action to unify people living in tribal communities and everybody else. That's what I have to say.
So, I said earlier about this too. First off, thank you for sharing that. It is part of the human condition that we have become tribal, and we still are, right? We still are. We see things through our own lens, is a form of tribalism. This gathering of people here today is a self-identified tribe. Right? And we see from our collective lens and our understanding of how things should happen and be. There's so many different tribalisms. I've witnessed it as I watch, our political discourse over the last couple of months. I mean, even in the Democratic tribe, the tribalism inside the Democratic has turned so hostile and ridiculous. We watch the Republican debates and the Republican primaries, and the us and them, you're wrong, you're bad, continues. Then it's extended to religions. then it's expanded to cultures and colors of skin and sexual orientations and what you choose to drive, right, or eat. That you're evil because you're not a vegetarian, or you are a vegetarian, right? And on some level, our human condition teaches us that there's a right way and a wrong way, a good person and a bad person, right? And that if we complain enough and show our unhappiness, we'll get what we want. That if we scream loud enough about how wrong it is, our ego tells us it'll change. And you're absolutely right. That's wrong. What we need to do is to realize that we're all the same. That we're all one. We're all seeking love, happiness, and God. Something bigger than ourselves. And yes, so that's why I prayed in the beginning for the members of the National Rifle Association and for us to join in real communication, real conversation, and real understanding of world peace and joy. I am all for the breaking down of barriers and at the same time for holding my own identity, for knowing that the journey I have gone through as a gay man, the journey I've gone through as an addict, the journey I've gone through stepping into ministry, have all colored my existence. And I heard somewhere recently, shared it, that you cannot love yourself and hate all the things that shaped you. Right? You cannot love yourself and hate all the things that made you unique and special. There is a yes and in this for me, Wanda. That yes, we need to bridge. We need to stand on the bridge. To go back to Nelson's, love is my decision. He was making a reference to I can't dance down this, I can't be happy about this. But I can make a decision to stand on the bridge, to bring love to the middle of the bridge between the two sides. I can make a decision to stand for love in all situations, and to compassionately and vehemently and extravagantly work to bridge all differences, to bring together people of all faiths, of all nationalities, of all sexual orientations, of all genders, not just the two. Right? And stop all this making other people evil. Right? That's the big problem. It's not just Muslims, it's not just Christians. All religions, since the beginning of time, have not only when you say it is an absolute that this is the way, this is the only way to God, it makes other people not just wrong, it makes them evil. And until we step back from that prefaces, right? Until we step back from that understanding that other people are somehow evil because they don't believe like we do, we'll never have that dialogue. It's so important. I mean, we do live in San Francisco. If you don't want to accept diversity, you are in the wrong city. But people also come here for that. So we're talking to ourselves. How do we, and I talked about this last week too, I know we're going long, but how do we have that conversation outside of this nuclear family, this tribe, who all believe, we have a large range of opinions in this room, but we're all sort of under the same huge tent, right? How do we have that conversation on a larger scale and listen? When we have a conversation, what we don't seem to do is listen. I'll speak for myself. When I have a conversation with others, what I don't seem to do is really listen to them. I'm having the conversation to convince them I'm right. And the first thing that has to change is that. First thing that has to change is that. I want to have conversations to listen, to know, and to be love, be peace, and be wisdom. Be the face of God. Yeah, we only sang that, right? We only just sang it and sang it and sang it. Can you be the face of God? Thank you. Darling, you had your hand up, and I think this has to be the last, and we can talk till the cows come home, but it's already 11:05.
Thank you. I'm Allie. For those of you I don't know, I was reminded this morning of how something like this can bring that division into my own home, and how I need to start with myself and people that I love. I can really easily put up those borders and not be forgiving or understanding or loving, even with the people in my own home, the people I love the most. Like, how can I start with that peace? You know, like peace begins with me, in my home, with the people I love. How can I be more forgiving? How can I be more? How can we walk through our own little tiny disputes in our home in a more loving way and take that out into the world so I can be genuinely more loving with everyone around me?
Yeah. It's an inside job. Peace begins with me. Let's sing it. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator. With God as creator. Family, all are we. Family, all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be a moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. So let's take that as our meditation song into our time.